kids, they like to see Linda at that door ready and waiting for them. They feel comforted knowing she's there and ready, and I do too. I have, my daughter's very young. My son sometimes doesn't listen, so to know someone is there, keeping an eye on them to make sure they get
Well,
where they need
I
to
think
be,
the
I feel
confusion has
comforted.
been taken care of and so on like that. And myself, I mean, yeah, Linda's not a parent, but she is
Yeah.
taking charge of the children after school.
And
So,
she's taking charge of the group.
Yeah.
So that
This
was
way
a
you get a
different
count
dynamic
on,
altogether.
make sure that they have everything, make sure they have their coats, make sure they have their book bag or whatever, when they're going down there, so.
I'm not sure I understand, Mike, why she can't have a key to the library. That one really, Mr. Johnson said Nancy doesn't want her to have one. Our kids in the winter time, there's no reason that they should have to walk out there. That's a heavy traffic time right there. Parents are coming and going to get their kids. And I don't, Belinda's pretty responsible. Your school had her on board for 33 years as a staff member.
I thought the key issue was an LCFC issue.
I don't believe it's an LCOC issue. I think that the structure of where the kids come out and that end of the school is not used, and sometimes usual access doesn't happen from the gym. So, you know, it's just that the kids usually all go out the other door. Inclement weather, it is kind of nice if they can come through and all. Sheldon had been opening the door in the afternoon last year so that they could come through the library into the LCOC. On days that it don't happen, kids can go outside. It's not like it's a big far walk, but I have no objections one way or the other, just recognizing, you know, there's 2 alarms attached on either side of that library door, and they're different coded. One's the school's and one's ours. So, you know.
Where are those, Nancy?
At that door in the library, I would assume it starts on the school side. If that is an activation point for the LCOC alarm, there's a pad inside the door that, you know, when Sheldon comes, not very often, it's usually turned off, but, you know, and then on the other side, I would imagine if the school alarm's on, the library is activated in there, but I, you know, don't know for sure, but, you know, that's not part of our system, but, I don't have a problem with kids coming through the library or not coming through the library.
Well, somebody
Well, I'd like to
does.
see to get this resolved, so this way here, you know, come January, when we're in the middle of blizzards and so on like that, we're not having to revisit this again. I mean, it
And I know
came up a
last-
couple of times last year, and if we can get this situation with getting the kids counted, getting the kids round up, and on inclement days, having them go through the school instead of having to go outside, if we can get this resolved, that'd be great.
It would be awesome.
So, if you can work it out between you guys and make sure that, you know, on inclement days that someone's down there to let them through the library and they can get in and they don't have to go out in a snowstorm or an ice storm or whatever it might be, like we had last year, that'd be really good.
So can we sum this up? Are we saying that Linda is allowed in to pick up the kids? Kim could bring the kids down if that makes more sense on a given day. And Sheldon opens the door, the library door. Is that right?
If he can be consistent with that, that was a problem, has been with Sheldon not opening the door for us and having to hunt him up. Or someone, either Tim and I having to contact Noreen to get in touch with him. I don't know what the issue was. I think it was mind games. That's just my opinion of it.
Well, for it to last that long.
It lasted a long
A
time,
long time.
yes.
Okay, so we can work out a schedule or whatever on inclement days, have that library door open so the kids can get through, when it's raining or snowing or whatever. I mean, a day like today wasn't bad. I mean,
No,
we're outside,
no, absolutely.
and a little
if they
fresh
have
air
to walk
between
outside,
classes
it's
would
okay.
do them good, so. But when it gets, you know, down below 0 and the wind is howling and snowing or raining or whatever it might be doing, if we can arrange to have that door open at like, you know, 5 before 2 or 2 o'clock or whatever it might be.
I think that, you know, that's great and it's good. I think more important is that maybe that Linda could get in the school to get the kids versus them having to come outside and her gather them. Because that's new this year. That's never happened to them before, so we'd like to see that
Yeah.
not. come to practice.
Okay, so Linda can come in and get the kids, get them all around up, get a count, whatever. On the days when Linda's not available, or Kim can take them down, or whatever, but as long as we can get some agreement that on inclement days, we can get that library door open and the kids don't have to get all bundled up and go out and play in the snow.
And it's safer to some days they have 15 to 20 to have the two walk down with that many kids.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Any more public participation?
I did have a question. I had seen online a student at the school asked about the status of the showers and access to the showers in the gym. Do you know anything about that? I just feel like do we not have working showers in our gyms?
I have no idea.
Actually, I know Sheldon. And I only know because this summer, we installed a hot water heater on our side, and plumbers had been in on your side, and they discovered that part of the reason the showers didn't have hot water last year was something with their hot water heater that they were fixing on your side, right around when we were putting one on our side, so I know that the showers now have hot water in the gym, you know, that,
Can you have somebody check on that, huh?
That would be a Sheldon question. Do the showers work?
Was there mold? I didn't know if it was a question about
No,
mold.
it was just a kid looking to shower after gym and sports and stuff and just have that opportunity, which I think is pretty, they're there, why not be able to use them?
Okay, well, maybe we can find the answer to that in the next meeting. How's that? Okay, any further public participation? Okay, hearing none. Consider the approval of the September 12, 2019 school committee meeting minutes as written or with corrections as recommended by the superintendent of schools.
Is now the time to review any of this that we can ask a question about?
If you have questions, if you do think is something incorrect on the minutes from the last meeting, you sure can bring it up.
No, I don't want, it's not incorrect, it's just a follow-up. But one thing is incorrect, I don't know if it's incorrect, but I don't see where we talked about the tuition student again. I don't see where you wrote that down in here, that we had a tuition.
I can add it, and just so you know, I did follow up with the administrator from that school, and we verified what their rate was gonna be, just so the group knows. They attempted to bill us in advance for the semester, and I directed my office to pay for the actual number of days that they've already been there, and that's the standard procedure, because we wouldn't be paying in advance.
Was it approved for him to
The
go?
child could withdraw, they could switch schools, and they would have our money.
Was it approved for the child to go?
It was. This board asked me if we had had students in other schools besides just Machias and WA, and I pointed out we had students attend the CCLC and Ellsworth in the past, and based on that rationale, the board did not deny this student the ability to go. So
Next time you let us know that, Mr. Johnson, please, before you make that kind of decision.
I did not make that decision. This board made that
I don't
decision in
remember
discussion
that.
at the last meeting.
I don't recall that last week about, or 2 weeks ago, about making the decision on that, and I certainly don't see it in the minutes
Well,
anywhere.
if it's not in the minutes, it can be put in the minutes, but we discussed this at the last board meeting.
One thing that I had a question about was the accreditation. And, you know, how does that affect that student when they graduate, if they want to go to college?
Didn't we discuss that
Yeah, we
in
did.
the last meeting?
And if I believe correctly, we did
What
make
was
it,
the
we did
answer?
not
I
make a
didn't get
decision
The
on
answer
that,
was it won't affect your
because I
going to
asked you for
college.
information on this particular school we brought to the board this meeting. Because we didn't know much about the school and so on like that, and then we were gonna bring it up this meeting and possibly discuss it.
Well, I thought I answered that question. This is an approved school to receive tuition. The child in question is staying there. It is in Wiscasset. And that person will come out of there with a valid diploma. The student's in grade 11. And this is the first time I've seen information from that school. So, that tells me that it's been a change in placement for that student. But it is approved for tuition by the state, and that's a requirement, that approval is a requirement for that school to send out a bill. And, beyond that, I don't know what
Well,
else I
there
can
is
say.
something beyond that, Mr. Johnson. I called Mr. Libby today at the Department of Education, and I don't know who the parent is. But one thing, if my child, they were planning to go to college, and I'd have a question about accreditation.
Mhm.
And Mr. Libby said that a smart thing for this family to do, which I'm sure that they're going to anyway, is to contact that school, that college, to make sure that they accept these credits from this school. So I felt that was pretty important. And I don't recall us approving that last week, and I certainly don't see it in the minutes anywhere that we ever even talked about it.
Well, then it can be put in the minutes.
Yeah, it used to be, we discussed it.
I have that under your report, the Cherokee School, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Right,
Yeah.
that is the name of the school we
So I
discussed.
would like, because we did have a fairly lengthy discussion covering all these points last time. So if we could put that,
Yeah.
add that to the minutes, that would be
Yeah.
nice.
Did you have something to add?
Well, I know a little bit about this Chewonki School. It's a fabulous program, and the kids are immersed in their education. It's a really exciting and some innovative education. I know just a tiny bit about homeschooling, and that's not accredited. I know a lot of homeschoolers who have just shined in college.
I'm not opposed to it at all, Melissa.
Well,
But
you
I
sound
think we
kinda
have
angry about
some, I think we need more information, especially to let us know that he did approve it. I had no idea last week, the week before, that we had approved it. I had
So-
no
That-
idea.
That's my memory.
Well, if my memory is faulty, I apologize, and I can correct minutes. The other thing that I would say, it's a matter of state law that if you do not have a high school and you do not have an exclusive contract with a high school, your secondary students have choice. So I don't know how we would deny a student. You can cap tuition at essentially the state average plus IVF, which is what we pay to WA. You can do that. But in the absence of a high school, in the absence of an exclusive contract, legally, you can't deny a student secondary choice.
I think one of the main questions was at what tuition rate we were gonna be paying.
$11,700 and I believe $83 for the year, which is the state average plus 6% IVF that WA charges.
Yeah, I have mine the same as WA.
Yeah.
So if we can add that in,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of accepting the minutes with corrections? All opposed?
I can't vote on
Okay. I'm glad you're on top of it. Okay, principal report.
Very short report, I just met with you a couple of weeks ago. Tomorrow, which is Friday, is the coastal cleanup day, so students will be cleaning along the beach from 9 to 10:30. Then there is a light housekeeper's ceremony at the cemetery next to the school, and it looks like grades 5 through 8 will participate in that. We will stand in the back, because we don't know how long the ceremony will be, so we can just kind of slip away to catch the bus without any disruption to that ceremony. On October 2nd, the MLTI, which is the main laptop initiative, Anne Marie will be here. She can work with students and staff on any part of the iPads that they have, giving them some professional development. On October 8th, grades 3 and 4 will be going to DEI, which is the Down East Institute on Beals Island. On the 9th, we'll have our second workshop with the tree, which is transforming the rural education experience, and it talks about adverse child experiences, and that's with Brittany Ray. I've also spoken with Brittany, and she'd like to come to a board meeting to talk about that. It looks like in November. And then on October 10th, teachers, as far as their evaluation, have done their self-survey. Their next step is to create a growth plan, so Kirk Jack will be coming to Lubec to give them a refresher course on parts of that.
On October the 9th, our board members, can we come down and just listen in with Brittany?
I would suppose I should probably ask her first, but do you want me to see if that's,
If I'm, yeah, thank you.
Okay, remind me again who Kirk Jack is?
he is the gentleman that comes down and works with us on using the new state mandated teacher evaluation
Oh, yes,
tool.
okay. Okay, anyone from the school committee have anything?
I do. I had a question about the buses and whatever happened to the 3 buses.
We have received payment from Mr. Yates, and I did confirm what Mike suspected at the last meeting, that he was indeed awarded the bid, and that is true. And we have received payment. So at the end of the day, Mr. Yates received 2 of the buses, and Randy Hall was the successful bidder first time around on the 3rd bus. So those 3rd buses have been sold. Those 3 buses have been sold.
And I haven't seen it in the budget yet, but how much have we spent so far on lawyer fees with this investigation? I haven't noticed it in our,
It's in the warrant that I signed today, so you will see it. And there was a $1,500 bill to our attorneys, and that would include other items besides this particular investigation, as you call it. And some of that I will be sharing with the board in executive session later on this evening. But there will be a $1,500 bill on our next warrant.
okay, and I don't know if this is the right time to bring this up or not, Mike, but a couple of weeks ago, I wrote an email to Mr. Johnson, and he shared it with all the other board members. I wrote that directly to him. I didn't give him permission to share it. Now, if there's anything on there, Mr. Johnson, that you felt was so important that you unethically shared that with everybody else, I'd like to bring it up. Anything that you want me to talk about that was on that email right now, I'll bring it up. Anything you want to know.
No wonder. There wasn't anything unethical on my part. The content.
I called the Maine State Board, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, you called Mr. Bailey, who
Yeah.
was here back in October, and he was kind enough to call me shortly thereafter. The contents of the email are public by definition.
Uh-huh.
And as I said in my response, which I did share with everybody, we can't do the business of the board in private. We're here tonight in open session to do the business of the board.
I put in
So-
request, Mr. Johnson, about some items. And what I'll do now, do I have permission to put this on Facebook then? You said the public can see it, so can I put it on Facebook?
You can put it on Facebook.
I'll print it. I'll print it.
When I answer an email, I assume that could potentially become public, because emails among the board as a group are public by definition. Somebody under the Freedom of Information Act could request to see that email. So when I respond to the group, I respond assuming that at some point in the future, it could become public. The information that you sent to me requesting is in the public domain by definition. If you
I'll
want
be
to put it on
glad,
Facebook, that's
I'll
fine.
be glad to share this with the public, every bit of it.
That's fine.
I'll be glad to.
It's
I
in the public domain by definition, Wanda. For me to carry out a side investigation at your personal request, that would be unethical, because if I chose to do that, we'd be going behind the back of the other 4 board members.
And
That's why that law
I
is there.
asked a question about, with the LCOC, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like with that, there was a situation down there. In the response, which I hope you guys all read, I didn't see the concern for the kids or response. The concern was for the other person that I was speaking about, or parties. that I was speaking about Mr. Johnson.
Well,
So I'll certainly share this.
please do,
I will.
because on the
I
contrary,
certainly will.
I went to the length of contacting a member of the Maine State Police who was covering Lubec that day. The fact that I would pick up the phone and call the Maine State Police shows my concern for the kids, because it is important that we get the correct interpretation of the law. And that is what we did, and I forwarded his response accurately. The other thing that I did, for the sake of the kids, was to request from any of you, because that email went to all of you, if you have a specific name that you're concerned about, please forward it to me, and I can do a little more research for the sake of the kids. I went as far as I could go for the sake of the kids by contacting a Maine State Police officer, getting the law interpreted for me, and then offering to do more research if any of you have additional information.
Well, you're telling me that I can put this in public, so you're my administrator, and that's just what I'll do, Mr. Johnson.
It's already in public,
Yeah.
because anything I share with the five of you is public by definition.
I'll share,
I'm
I'll
fine.
I think
certainly
we've
share my
heard this
email.
5 or 6 times now. She's gonna share it. You
Okay.
said it's public domain.
Did you get it?
I heard you at
Okay.
least 6 times,
Okay.
yes.
And we had the audit, and you told us at the first meeting, I think in August, that the audit found $270,000, but you didn't tell us which year that was, Mr. Johnson. Now, you had another audit last week or the week before, so where are we at in years with these audits?
You are perfectly on schedule. I report on your audit on the year in which it happens. We've talked about the audit in past months, in past years around February, because usually I have the audit in my office right before Christmas. So it gets on the agenda in the early part of the winter, and we go 1 year at a time. So you have the FY18 audit already reported on that. FY19's audit is under construction even as we speak. The
So
audit-
the 270,000 from 2018.
That's not what I said. I said the FY18 audit is complete. The year the auditor restated our position and the general fund grew, it wasn't that figure. In my mind, I haven't got it in front of me, it was 173,000 approximately, and it's since been added to in subsequent audits, so the general fund is growing. But I report on your audit every year as the audit is completed, because you're required by law to have an audit annually, and we report on it annually. The auditors have been in my office already, and your audit, I have every confidence it'll be done before the end of the calendar year and submitted to the state as it is required, so we are on schedule.
So the 270,000 still, is that from 2017, 2018? What year was that audit for that amount?
Wanda, the general fund grows annually,
Uh-huh.
so the.
You
the
reported
fund-
this in August, Mr. Johnson. You
Yes.
reported this to us.
Yeah, and I reported what your general fund had in it at that moment. That is an accumulation of years running. It didn't show up all at once. The auditor restated your position when your current auditor took over for the previous auditor. And that's when your general fund went from a negative 50,000, I reported one audit year, went to 173 on the positive side and has kept growing. Now, I haven't got it in front of me, but that was more than 1 year ago. So your audit, the general fund grows every year because we're required to finish in the black.
So this is money that's pulled through from year to year to year?
That's correct.
So
That's
when
correct.
he's doing this audit right now, which I know they
Yep.
have been doing it, what year is he going back to, 16, 17, 18? What
No.
year does he work on?
He's working on FY19. So the end of FY18 will be the starting position for FY19. And that summary page that I distribute establishes end position and the beginning position. And since 1 year rolls into the next, the ending position from FY17 was the starting position for FY18. The ending position for FY18 will be the starting position for FY19. And it continues to go 1 year at a time in that manner.
So I'm assuming the 270 was from 2017.
That's not from one year, that's an
accumulated
that's an
over several
accumulated total.
Numerous years, pulling forward, pulling forward. Each year, every year,
Yeah,
more
but
money
they
gets
don't
to add
do
on.
audits that way, Harry, they do audits on a yearly basis.
Right, but our money keeps being pulled forward every year, and more money gets added every year that we save.
Right,
It's like adding money to a piggy bank.
right.
Every year it grows.
So, what is that right now then? It was 270,000, what is it now, if it's still growing?
I haven't got the audited number yet, but I will report it when I have it.
And I had a question too about the LCOC sublease. Who was involved in this and why wasn't the board made aware that this was gonna be in a meeting?
Well, I guess I don't understand why I don't understand your question. The board is made aware of it because it's printed on the agenda. That's how I
Have
make
you
the
already
board
met,
aware.
have you already met with the LCOC or is tonight the first
Did we
time
get
that
his
we're
report on that?
communicating?
I don't meet with the LCOC. I actually got a phone call and the LCOC has requested that I delete that from my report because they aren't quite prepared on their end from their board of directors. And I confirmed that with Nancy this morning. So that particular item is going to come off my report.
So number 5,
No, under superintendent's report where it says LCOC sublease, that's going to be deleted from my report. Number 5, under new business, was put on there at Mike's request.
That's another completely different item. Okay, anything else from the school committee? I have something, the October 24th meeting will likely to be canceled because of the Maine School Board Association meeting down in Augusta. I know that we're probably gonna have at least 2 board members down there, and the superintendent's not gonna be around, so, we'll have one meeting in October and so on like that, and then make up for other things on that, so October 24th, more than likely, will not have a meeting. Okay, anyone else? Superintendent's report.
My report tonight will be extraordinarily brief. As I mentioned earlier, I have received a request to take the LCOC sublease matter off my report, so we are not going to be talking about that tonight. I'm also sorry to say that I cannot appoint an educational technician tonight. We did have an interview with a gentleman that we thought very highly of. He contacted my office and pulled his application. He was no longer able to commit to the position, and he did so regretfully. But that is the information that I have. And with that, I don't have anything else in my report tonight.
Are we still running ads for that position?
Yes, we are.
Are there any other ones coming out tomorrow, Mr. Johnson? Any other ads?
I believe that one will continue to run. We also advertise, just so the group knows, on Serving Schools, which is an online kind of posting, particularly for educational openings. And you wouldn't necessarily, obviously you won't see that in the paper, but servingschools.com is also a good place to see our advertising around the district, and it's also statewide. But that's an online source that we use, and believe it or not, it's much cheaper, no offense, John, than running a printed ad.
Okay, adjustments to the agenda.
I have one, Sarah McConnell. Sarah's here tonight, and she is asked to make a lunch presentation. So if we could add that, you want to be number 1?
Sure.
Is that okay with
That'll
you?
work. That'll work.
I like the sounds of that.
And we'll make 1A, how's that, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Number 1, Sarah, go right
Number
ahead.
1, I rushed back from a meeting in Brewer all day, and I have some papers for you, because we don't have enough already. This first one is a highlight of the community eligibility provision that we voted in, I think, in 2016, that allows all of our students to have free breakfast and lunch. And this success story, as it's labeled, is a document that was created by Maine Snap Ed, which I've worked for over 5 years. And in that role as a nutrition educator, I have the opportunity to do some policy systems and environmental change work. And because I'm from Lubec and I love Lubec and our kids, I can work here to do some things. So many hours were spent to get CEP in place, which I think has been a pretty good success to save our families money and provide healthy lunch and breakfast. So again, I have planned with the kitchen crew, which is fantastic, Darlene and Brenda, the lunches that they provide, to hold another open lunch, shared lunch with your student, to really help hopefully increase the participation for students, for parents to know just what it is that they're getting for lunch. I do travel to many of the schools in Washington County, and we're right up there in the top with the best lunch that's provided. It's very lucky that we get a salad bar each day. So I did have a few questions for you. A meeting or two ago, it may have been longer, I was not in attendance, but the lunch prices were set, which of course with CEP, the students don't need to pay, but the adults do. And that price was set, I believe, at $7.30, and I'm not for lunch, and I'm not sure what it was for breakfast. My organization will help pay for the lunch on Monday, and I would like you guys to all, you're welcome to attend as well. We'll be set up to have everyone sign in, securely coming in and leaving. I'm just wondering, we definitely want to make sure that the school gets paid for this lunch. But I want to talk about some prices of what can be paid. And if you have any questions about any of this in general. I know there's new board members.
I've got a couple of questions. I have the amount that we agreed for breakfast, but this is not a breakfast program, right?
So
What you're doing on
what we're
Monday.
doing on Monday is just for lunch.
Just for
So parents, caregivers, guardians can come in and take a look, eat lunch with their students.
Which I think is absolutely fantastic. The more we can get parents involved in it, the better off we are. How many parents tend to show up at this?
So last year, I think in the success story it says 50. There were probably closer to 70 parents, and when last year our student population was under 80, it was a full room for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. They had a good time, and again, the meal. We don't, when I talk with Darlene, we don't put on a special meal. These are the lunches that are provided each day. This year I did talk with her and make sure that the meal that we provided is utilizing the commodity foods that the school receives. So those commodity foods are free to the school. So on Monday we're going to be having tacos, and much of that meal is going to be from actually what was received last year as commodities that we needed for the tacos.
So what are you asking as far as?
Well, last year, we gave $5 per participant. I actually found out today I don't have a budget for this, so I'm going to be doing some finagling on my end to find whatever the funds are needed to, which isn't your worry, that's my worry. My worry right now is to make sure we have a large crowd show up.
No, we just sold a few buses. And we can direct some of that money that way. Well, thank you, sir, for all you do. I really appreciate that. I know the community does, and you work really hard at this, so thank you.
Really bad, thank you, Sarah.
I think, did you want some response to?
Yeah,
your-
all
The
right.
money,
He's asking for less than the 7:30 we set. Do we know what these lunches are gonna cost?
So offhand, I don't know what the total cost will be. Like I said, we're using most of, like we chose the fruits that are the commodity, the meat that's going into the tacos, so there will be a cost, as there is with every lunch. However, it's not going to be your typical lunch cost. And we could probably get the breakdown,
I mean, do you want donations, something like that, Sarah, or?
I don't really want donations, and I think more than anything, with the lunch price, when we set the lunch price for the year, that really only affects, how many teachers do you have, the support staff?
Approximately 25, but not all of them take lunch, so.
Well, so at this rate, I think there's probably one staff member that consistently gets lunch. And otherwise, I think more staff will get lunch if it wasn't that much money. And it's really great when the staff can sit down and eat lunch with the students and reinforce, this isn't just your lunch, I have my own because it's not good enough or something. That's just more thinking of, and that doesn't have to change this year, but just having that.
That's another issue. The question I'm hearing, and I'm not getting an answer to it, is what do we charge parents for lunch on Monday?
I haven't got the number in front of me, but I will say this, the calculations come to us from the Department of Nutrition in the Department of Education. I've had boards in the past ask to lower the rate, and we get a nastygram from Mr. Hartley's office, and we're not allowed to do that because the data that we upload has to match what we charge. I haven't got the exact figure for an adult meal in front of me, I'm sorry, Sinead, but,
Again, this is every day of the year, adults,
right?
apparently primarily staff and faculty. She's asking about a one-time situation to bring parents into the school. Is there a way we can charge the parents less than $7.30? That's my question.
I'll have to ask the question, and it would seem like a fairly straightforward thing. One time only, okay, but we upload data to the state for the entire year, and that in turn is used to calculate lunch prices. All I can do is ask, I can try and find out.
I don't think there really is time to ask since this is Monday,
Yeah.
so.
Well, and like I said, we're gonna pay whatever we need to pay. Because this was a success last year, they've encouraged me to continue even though we don't know where it's coming from. And they're going to hire up people with the Department of Education and try to make sure that other people throughout the state can also use funds that are in my position to do these things. So you're saying that lunch prices are not mandated, but you get the nasty gram? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it throws the numbers off.
Yeah.
Because I question, why is an adult lunch so much money? I mean, it's a lot of money, so every day, you're charging $7 every day, that's a chunk of change. So,
Thankfully, the parents don't have to pay that for this.
And on Monday, don't have to pay.
No, they don't have to pay, no matter what we decide
Oh,
on.
good, okay.
We'll take care of that. I might have a bottle or something, but
maybe you'll get a nasty gram or something.
I probably will get a few.
Sarah, are you planning on staying for the rest of the meeting?
Yes.
There's a lunch-related item a little
Yes.
later on.
I might have some more info on
I was hoping you'd say that.
Okay, 1A, to consider awarding a heating fuel bid 2019-2020.
One bid.
One bid. Now, provided from last year was Houston, correct?
Yes.
And this again is from Houston Plumbing and Heating. $2.49 a gallon. What are the other districts paying? Anything? Sorry, Rick.
249, is what, Perry got pulled in, there. Perry tabled it, because they were asking if it was a fixed bid, and it is, but they asked me to verify that. Eastern gave the same quote. Tamaro services Charlotte and Alexander, or has in the past. I'm going up to Alexander next week. And historically, Tamaro is the lowest in the district, but they don't service the Lubec area. Interestingly, it was noted that the Dead River office in Eastport has closed. And I had some board members express some concern about that. But those are the three providers we use around the district: Eastern, Dead River, and Tampa.
I mean, so this comes in under the heading is, you have an AOS that's supposed to save money. And we're supposed to be able to kind of get things all together, whether it be food or fuel or,
Yep.
whatever, and we're just all over the place, so. So your inspection, there you go. So that $2.49 is a fixed price, no matter what happens. Okay, so, have a motion on that.
I make a motion to accept the bid of $2.49.
Okay, any second on that motion? Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? 5 to 0. To consider the discussion and implementation of an after-school food program to be established, establish a date for a public hearing.
I'm one short.
That's all right, we can share.
So explain why we need a public hearing on this.
Yep. If we look at, the second paragraph at the bottom of the page I just distributed, notwithstanding the above paragraph, which basically says if you had more than 50% of students qualify for free or reduced lunch pricing, that a school shall participate in an after-school food service program. But the bottom paragraph goes on to say, school administrative unit that is required to operate may choose not to operate a program if it determines by vote of the governing body, which is the school board, after notice in a public hearing, that operating such a program would be financially or logistically impracticable. So the hearing, if we've got a concern that implementing an after-school food service nutrition program is feasibly or financially or logistically impractical, we still have to have a hearing and let the matter be brought up. Yes, Wanda?
I'm just wondering with Nancy and Linda, I mean, we already serve our students snack, and I looked at the guidelines under here, like fruit and vegetables, and do you guys serve, I mean, I've been down there before, and you're serving vegetables.
Yeah, this year we are not in the CACFP, because of that lovely new system and the data entry you gotta do and the administrative time.
Oh, it's incredible.
Because our after-school program averages 9 kids. Would the after-school kids come eat the meal that the school provides? Probably, you know, because as my understanding, this new law is an education law that identifies at-risk sites. The schools have an obligation to offer out another meal to at-risk children. You know, it falls on the school. Would you have 7 kids that would show up every day? Yeah, because they're in the after-school program and they all are, you know, school attendees. Is it a necessity? Probably not. We do feed them, you know, we have snacks and fruit this year. We're not doing a meal, but we do give a snack in the 3 hours that they're there, and a little more than a snack on those long Wednesdays. So, I don't know that, you know, I don't know that.
Didn't we have a program,
It used to be,
Proponents Pantry or something there several
it
years
was,
ago?
it was tied in with the food pantry, and it was, called, backpacks.
Yeah, it was food to home for kids.
Yeah.
It was not
Right.
food for kids in the program. You know, it was backpacks to go home with kids identified as. food
Well, I
to
think
home.
this actually probably targets kids that don't go to the after-school program also.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yep.
you know, and then it becomes a potential problem. Okay, so if they go home on the bus, how do they get back to the school for a
Well,
meal?
that's the same thing as the summer free lunches that, you know, are run. It's like if a parent gets them there, and in my experience in York County doing that a couple of years ago, kids had to be accompanied by their parent to get the free lunch. That was the summer program, but, that, you know, that's, still there. So this is kind of the same program, that if you offered up a third meal in the school, you might have parents walk their kids back or bring kids back. I have no idea what you would have in regards to, you know, non-after-school kids coming.
Except this program is for kids participating in
Yep,
after-school
it does clarify,
program.
yep.
Right.
So it really isn't every kid that goes home and doesn't
That's true.
participate in the program.
And with you, Linda, I mean, I've been down there, usually you guys are serving a nutritious snack.
We work for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mr. Johnson, do we have any facts or information that would indicate this is financially or logistically impracticable?
More information is available logistically. Truthfully, one question that I've yet to have answered about this, and my office is looking into it, are the meals that would be provided after school, what are they referred to as subsidizable meals? I think that they will be considered that, but I don't know that, so I'm trying to find out. The logistics of it, Mike's alluded to the biggest one already, transportation. If we're gonna hold students for another 45 minutes or an hour, because Nancy is correct, we know we're gonna get the same kids that would be there for the after-school program, but if we're offering a free meal, I bet there'll be more, significantly more. Because I don't debate the need in the community, because the statistics are overwhelming.
Well, it goes beyond transportation, then, because it
Oh,
goes beyond
exactly.
transportation, and then, you know, the staff and personnel to
Cook it and feed them, and clean it.
and clean up and
Yeah.
supervise
Submit
and
all those
whatever.
forms to the state to get
So, and
reimbursed.
who funds for that? Who provides the funds for that?
We would be.
Well, and again, this only applies to kids that are attending after-school programming.
So that means
So if you're
for,
anticipating that this would create an influx of kids in the after-school programming, then you've got that logistic to deal with.
Well, they go to after school and they get a free meal there anyway.
And
Well,
I don't
that's
know
not the
if
point.
your sports kids are considered after-school programs,
Yeah.
because I mean, I do know, you know, in basketball season or some of the other events, that library door is open often, and kids are in the hallway eating something in our kitchen
Right.
because, you know, they got sports and they're waiting, and I don't know if those after-school kids would eat such a meal if provided, and there's a lot of kids at certain times of the year in the building after school, so I don't, you know.
We do have some that have siblings that are, not really in the, well, they're signed up for the after-school program, but they're not there because they're in practice,
right.
sports practice, but they have come to us and said, what have you got for us to eat? We're starving. know, we get that a lot.
And we feed.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, as I read this, what do you say? As I read this, the hearing, notice in the hearing is if we decide it's impractical.
Right.
We don't have enough information to make
Yeah.
that decision as far as I can hear.
Okay?
Could we just table this and get a report
Yep.
back on what this would involve
Right.
You know,
financially?
we need information,
And-
what it would involve time-wise, money-wise, how would it would be implemented? I mean, if there's anyone, let's say, in a community that's similar to ours, how they implement it would be very helpful, because this is like, you know,
Well, you have till June
throwing dots in
2020
the dark.
to make a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we can table this, we get more information on it and something like that. And, I mean, it's fairly vague here, what they're looking for us to do.
Well, this part, Mr. Johnson, I copied this off, and if you could get something that we could read, how do I know if my school district meets the 50% or more criteria? I mean, if we can get something readable for this.
I can. And
You've got insight
the
for this?
data from May of this year, Lubec was listed at 91% free and reduced.
It's going around.
Well, we get free anyway.
So maybe you have updated beyond that.
You're one of the highest in the state.
But you get free anyway, don't you, breakfast and lunch? They're
Right.
already free.
Under the CEP.
Yeah.
You might wanna check with, Rose Gaffney, that they do an after-school program, they may have some, looking at it.
Rose Gaffney's was grant funded when I left.
Oh, it was?
They under the Edge umbrella. I don't know if you know, Ed Reeves, in Maine Seacoast Mission is involved in that to a great extent, but they're at least heavily grant funded. But we can certainly ask around
Yeah,
to see if there are any similar programs.
actually, it was.
And it doesn't seem like this law is talking about a meal, it's just talking about providing something for them to eat, snack.
Yeah, and how,
Pretty big.
how much or how little would be a local decision. And that certainly is gonna impact the cost and all of the above, so it's a multifaceted item.
It could be several things, a sit-down meal or a brown bag from home. I know that in other parts of the state and in other parts of the country, they do have, you know, what we used to have years ago, several years ago, was a little brown bag going home, especially over the weekend.
Yep.
So, I mean, it could
It's
be a lot of
something
things.
like, Melissa, there were 20 pages. It's something like Weight Watchers where everything's really, it's got a, kind of like a strict guideline, which isn't a bad thing, but there's a lot to it.
So we'll table this until we get more information and how it can be implemented or not.
Like, just to keep it running.
Keep your ears open for us, Sarah, about that, if anything comes your way.
We briefly just got the memo of a very long list of, legislation that will affect food and the work we do, so it's all brand new, and it's good that you're talking about it, but there's probably no other schools that are implementing anything unless they were already implementing it.
Right.
Okay. To consider discussion of a contract with Nike providing uniforms.
So I spoke with Mr. Ashby today, he has reached out and is waiting to hear more details from these people, which is
Okay, so
University
we
Maine
don't have any
Sport
other discussion,
No.
any other information in the last meeting. Okay, so we can table that till next meeting.
I just still gonna look at it real quick.
Okay, to consider increasing the substitute teacher rate of pay.
So a couple of items under this. Minimum wage goes to $12 an hour after January 1. A teacher who helps us from 7:30 in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon, that's a 7-hour day at 12 an hour, that's $84. We don't pay that right now, I think we're at 75. The other thing that was noticed, we've had a need for a few subs already, as you can imagine, in September, and one sub said, how much do you pay? Okay, you talked to them, and they went to another school because they paid $90. And wouldn't come help us out for $75.
How often do we have that problem?
We are hurting right now for subs. We're pulling ed techs from here and people at a prep periods and
Mr. Johnson, what is Eastport Pier in Pembroke, what is their sub pay?
It is at the 75 rate, they're all gonna have to come up as well, so you're not competing within the district. When I said another person called, that's true, but they were talking about rate,
I believe that was an East Machias
in the
school I was
Giants.
talking about.
they were talking about the rate in the Giants.
Machias and East Machias, I think it's $90 and $95 per day. And, you know, they don't have to live in that community, I mean, if they get $5 more an hour, or $5 more a day, they're gonna take that gas money and go. So,
I mean, I believe we too need to come up in the base pay and go beyond the $12 an hour myself.
Can I just ask, the $6,880 budgeted for substitute salary represents what? One substitute for a year?
We pay all the subs off that line, and however many subs we have, they probably rotate between 5 or 6 people. If we're lucky, at the moment, we haven't had 5 or 6 different ones in the building, we'll be lucky if we have 2 or 3. But that line is to pay all of them collectively for the year. And that probably won't be enough.
Well, last year you ended in the red
Yep.
on that.
yeah. On the average, how many times are we looking for subs during a month?
it varies, like people have been hit hard with cold, so I've had some illnesses, there's been some professional development. There have been people who had made medical appointments back in May and couldn't get in until September. So it's hard to pinpoint that.
And the subs that we have that come into our school, are they from this community, are they from elsewhere?
The two I have right now, one I have right now is from this community. The one that said no is from Oxford.
Do we have a recommendation?
$100 a day, that's my recommendation.
That sounds reasonable to
I
me.
mean, if you turn around, you look at what other schools are paying, $90 and $95 a day. I mean, in order to get that substitute and get that person into the classroom, I mean, people are gonna look at that, and they're gonna go elsewhere, they're gonna go elsewhere for $5 a day or $10 a day, they're gonna go somewhere else.
The truth is, there is a scarcity of substitute teachers, so trying to nickel and dime on the low end is foolish. I agree with you.
I mean, it's, you know, go right to the top and just say, look, this is what we pay, $100 a day, come to Lubec. Or stay in Lubec.
Can we do that, Ken?
You can.
Yeah.
That line isn't gonna be adequate anyway. So at the end of the year, that particular line will be overdrawn. You have to increase to 84 anyway. So
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept $100 a day for subs.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
No, just contractual, Ken, do you remember, it used to be that it was based on, how much educational experience they had. Do you remember if that's still in the contract? It used to be, if you had a high school diploma, if you had 2 years college, if you had 4 years college. And I just don't know how that will play out.
I think the language is still there, but the amount is above it anyway. So
So are we saying, like, for clarifying purposes, are we saying 100 for 4 years of college? I don't know what it used to be, 95 for 2 and 90 for high school?
I would, if you want my recommendation,
I don't wanna go against the contract, that's all.
I'd make it a flat rate, but the $100 figure is above the contract anyway. The only
Okay.
way you'd have a contractual issue if you were less than the contract, I think. So,
Okay. So that was 100
Okay, so we have a second on that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I'll be down this week.
There you go. Okay, to consider the discussion of modifying the terms of the LCOC lease agreement. Sounds a little vague. Last year, Mr. Doyle came to me and came to the superintendent and proposed a few changes in the lease agreement so they can have a little bit more autonomy in getting insurance on their buildings and what goes on in their buildings and so on like that, and potentially look for a possible heating solution down the road. So I did get some verbiage from Mr. Doyle, and you got the same thing. I haven't met with him. I told him it would be sometime after the new school board session. But what I'd like to do is bring this to the board and have the board's approval to have myself and Schneider work on this with Mr. Doyle and work in conjunction with the LCOC to see if we can get this wording changed and see if we can work on getting this resolved. So that's really the only thing I'm going to discuss about it. I just want the board's approval that we can work on this and go from there, so.
What do you feel is gonna be the heating? I mean, how are you gonna address that issue?
There was verbiage in there of having some kind of a formulation until they had maybe addressed a situation where they could put their own heating system in there, okay? And the stopgap would be to have a formulation where it might be, using cubic feet, times BTUs and so on like that, until it was resolved. So,
Can I just bring one thing up, Mike,
go ahead.
about heat? I looked at some numbers, and I just wanted to get it out there, and I have nothing against LCOC. I'm so happy that our town has those wonderful services for our kids, for adults, for everybody, but it isn't our responsibility to heat that. I feel like last year, our school took money, somebody took it, and spent that down at LCOC, and I just want to real quickly bring up some numbers. This was 2015 to 2016, we spent 40,000 on heat that year. 2016, 2017, 49,000 that year. 2017, 2018, 46,000. So it's in a range. One of those years was a cold year. 2018 into 2019, we spent $90,000. And that money, in my opinion, was misappropriated to that high school wing. That's our school. The town didn't raise their boat and say, yes, I want some part of this to go to the LCOC. So somebody misappropriated that amount of money. And that just, we just can't say, well, to heck with that. As board members, we're responsible for our students, for teachers, and for our citizens. They're the ones that are paying this bill, and I think we need to address or be responsible about this.
That's one of the reasons why we're gonna sit down and, see if we can work out some terms and so on like that, so they can be a little more autonomous and, maybe get your own heating system in there and actually separate that off. So, in the
Will we get
meantime,
to approve the lease before?
excuse me?
Will we get to approve the lease?
Oh, yeah, this is gonna be brought to the board, so everyone's gonna be in agreement what goes on at least. There's gonna be no, nothing, dealt with, out of board's approval. I'm coming to the board tonight to actually ask the board's approval for authorization to work on this with the vice chair, and we'll sit down with people from the LCOC, and Mr. Doyle has agreed to talk to me and go from there. And
You'll be creating a subcommittee to work on.
right, that's what we're gonna be looking at, so. So that would be the motion I put on the floor, to basically have myself and the vice chair work on this lease agreement, and some wording changes so we can, get some things and take care of what needs to be taken care of, so. So that's the motion I have. Any second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Okay. And I'll advise you once we get something in terms and once we get something on paper. Okay, to consider entering an executive session pursuant to statutory citation MRSA SS 405-6-A to discuss a personnel matter.
To accept that.
Okay,
Second.
second. All in favor?
I